You know those days, right, where you feel completely stuck, just waiting for some magical burst of energy to get you going? Well, what if you didn't have to wait? What if you could create your own momentum? That's what we're digging into today, how to get things rolling, one small, deliberate step at a time.
It's such a familiar feeling, isn't it? That little voice that says, I'll start when I feel inspired, or I'll do it when the time is right. But here's the thing, waiting for that so-called perfect moment is actually a trap. It's this belief that we need everything to be just right that totally locks us into place, stuck in inertia.
And this brings us to the first big idea we need to tackle, what I like to call the myth of the dramatic push. We've somehow been taught that real progress has to start with some huge, heroic effort. But what if that idea is the very thing that's holding us all back?
Just let that sink in for a second. It completely reframes how we think about starting anything. We're all sitting around waiting for this lightning strike of motivation, when in reality, all we really need to do is create a tiny little spark ourselves.
So this is the trap, right? Waiting for perfect conditions. We tell ourselves we're just being patient, but what's really happening is we're in a passive state, letting inertia build. And you know how it is. The longer you wait, the heavier that inertia feels, making it even harder to finally get started.
Okay, so if waiting is the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's all about flipping the script. Instead of waiting for some push from the outside world, we're going to learn how to create our own internal pull. And it all begins with one tiny, totally manageable action.
And that's the real definition of momentum we're using here. See, it's not some big wave you have to wait to catch. It's more like a snowball that you build yourself, right at the top of the hill. Action doesn't follow momentum. Momentum is the result of action. It's an output, not an input.
And the beautiful thing about this is how simple it is. You don't have to think about conquering the entire mountain. No way. Just find one meaningful first step. Send that one email. Write just one paragraph. Tidy up one single corner of your desk. The goal here isn't to finish the whole project, it's just to start the chain reaction.
All right, so how does this actually work? How does one little action turn into real, sustained progress? Well, it's all about creating a positive feedback loop, a cycle where each tiny win makes the next one feel even easier.
So here's how the loop works. You start small, super small. You complete that one task and you get this little jolt of positive energy, right? That feeling of, hey, I did a thing. And that small win, that little bit of good feeling, becomes the fuel for the next action. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle.
I mean, this quote just nails the snowball effect perfectly. That first push is always the hardest part. But once it's rolling, it starts to gather its own mass, its own speed. The energy becomes almost exponential. And suddenly, you realize you're no longer forcing it. You're being carried forward by the very momentum that you created.
Okay, so creating momentum is one thing, but, sustaining it, that's the real game. And that's where the most crucial piece of the puzzle comes in. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent.
Just look at the difference between these two approaches. Waiting for motivation? That's passive. It's totally unpredictable. You never know when it's going to show up. But building momentum, that's active. It's reliable. It shifts you from being a victim of your moods to being the architect of your own energy.
And honestly, this is where this whole strategy becomes a superpower. Because it's not just for your good days when you're already feeling great. No, it is most critical when you feel tired, or uninspired, or totally overwhelmed. On those days, the discipline to take just one small step can single-handedly change your entire trajectory.
And ultimately, this is what it all boils down to. It's the consistency, the simple act of showing up for those small beginnings over and over again that builds resilience. That daily practice becomes the engine that carries you right through the inevitable dips in motivation and energy. So I'll leave you with this question. Forget about the entire mountain for a second. Just look down at the ground right in front of you. What is the one simple, meaningful thing you can do right now to get that snowball rolling? Because progress isn't about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about creating it.